All right, this is the 5 best songs on Apple Music. It's very special. We're in Canada right now, and I'm here with Alex Turner and Matt Helders, Arctic Monkeys. We're going to go through the 5 best songs. I have a little dossier that I've created on you guys.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of stuck out is that you've been together for so long now. You met each other at primary school, didn't you?
Matthew and I did, yeah. We all grew up very close to one another. Like the distance between here and our dressing room now. We've been in the band together longer than we haven't at this point.
Really?
Well.
That's quite a mad thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And growing up, I'm kind of interested in teenagers. Did you ever have tiffs or anything? Has it always been completely along the straight and narrow?
Occasionally, probably. Yeah. By the time we had the band together, we'd
passed all
got
that.
through about that.
Yeah. That's what everybody said when you first came out. It was the inner circle, and nobody gained access to the inner circle. Management didn't really gain access to the inner circle until you were totally at ease with them. And I think maybe that's probably helped you stay together for all the craziness that's happened since. Do you think that's fair?
I think so, and probably the extent we went to try and
protect.
Yeah, do that was looking back a reaction to all that.
The further that you're in this game or industry or whatever you want to call it, or life, do you kind of get more relaxed with that sort of thing? And
wide open now, Matthew. Yeah.
What's the first tune that you picked for us?
So some stuff we've been listening to lately. We had that band, the Nude Party, on the road with us. Do you like them?
I know
Matthew?
them a little bit. It's very garage rock, 2002,
they
but done very well.
They come and did a couple of shows with us, and it just like put a big smile on his faces every night.
Where did you hear them? Did someone tell you about them?
Someone told us about them. Yeah, it wasn't an algorithm, that's for sure.
So which song are we playing by the Nude Party?
I like this one called Astral Man. That's a good one. Why don't we play the Chevrolet Van?
Chevrolet Van, I do like that one. That one's about touring, isn't it?
Yeah, very good.
You're quite into new bands. I remember you were the first person who told me about Alabama Shakes.
No.
Yes, you were.
Wow.
Get on
Finger is on the pulse.
Wow.
Really early.
Wow, really
And then
early.
I went back to London and told every single A&R person I know and created
And now
a
look
scrum
at
and
us.
look at them. And now they're winning Grammys.
Yeah, we saw them in Nashville,
Nashville,
weren't we? Yeah, like in somebody's bedroom.
And it's that thing, I guess it's the same as it ever was. You went to gigs growing up. It doesn't change, does it? The older that you get, the hairs on the back of your neck still stand up for the same reasons, I think.
Yeah, remember they knocked his socks off.
Still
like
excited
that.
to see
Did they?
Yeah.
What, her voice?
Yeah, just all of it. It was just, yeah.
When was the first time that music really touched you in a serious way? When did it stop just being a thing that your parents or whatever were playing in the background and you were kind of like, wow, there's this exists?
It weren't, a famous band or anything, I don't think, but there was some other kids in our area that had like got it together. One of which was Nick O'Malley, who's like plays with us now, but he used to play in this other band, and they were playing in the pub
Dodgems,
close
right?
by.
The
Yeah,
Dodgems?
they weren't yet to be called that then, but yeah.
So, because your parents are music teachers, or were music teachers?
My dad was, yeah.
So that didn't rub off on you as like a really young kid? He wasn't like trying to play the Beatles or whatever and educate?
My mother'd probably be more likely to play with the Beatles. My dad's just more into jazz and swing. Although he does we'd listen to we'd listen to Pet Sounds in his car and that.
How old? Really young?
Really young, yeah.
That's kind of cool, isn't it? I wonder if when you have a really young kid and you play him something like Pet Sounds, whether it sort of seeps in and...
I think so. I mean, I can remember sitting there being quite moved by it.
Matt, are you kind of playing your kid like stuff strategically?
Yeah, it's gangster rap. Uncensored. She needs to know.
Song number 2. What have we got? What are we going to play?
I love Leon Russell. Listening to him as much recently as always. There's a song is called Shoot Out on the Plantation that we were listening to in a van the other day. Whether or not it was a Chevrolet, I'm not sure, but there was a van going somewhere, and we were listening to this, and it has what our friend Zach Dawes would describe as some deep pocket.
Deep pocket, meaning what?
I think it's some reference to do with the rhythm section, I believe.
You don't know,
I wouldn't
but
know.
it sounds
I
good.
don't. Yeah, I'm just prancing about.
When you're on the road, particularly in America, and you're discovering music and you're on the road and people are giving you records and saying, this is good, this is good, this is good, it must be quite a beautiful thing to discover new music, maybe in the land that it was created or in a very dreamlike scenario. Did you find that in the early years of the Monkeys, that your ears were kind of open to a lot of new stuff?
I remember that time, it more being people telling us who we sounded a bit like from
Really?
back
I
in
do
the
a
day.
lot of that, yeah.
And then you go back
Who
and
did
listen
you
to that.
used
Like,
to get?
oh yeah, like Elvis Costello. Someone told us once one particular thing, and that was like, oh, I'll listen to that.
What did you think when you did? Was
I
it
know
kinda
that's like Lipstick
oh, yeah.
Vogue, isn't it? Because like which we did a cover of again a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Because there's the intro on that, like the Pete Thomas drum part.
the drums.
Someone reminded him of the way he plays, like when we were
Yeah.
kids, and that we should do a cover of it. And they were like,
Yeah.
way too hard for us
Still
then,
is.
but like now,
But now-
12 years later, look at us, Matthew, cobbling it together in an afternoon.
Arcade Fire tonight.
Yeah, it's just to reflect
entire
it.
record. I think that when I look at your songwriting, there are certain tunes that kind of have themes, and Star Treatment on the new record would go into it, like Despair in the Departure Lounge. They seem to deal with fame and your thoughts on it. And rather than jumping straight in and saying, I feel like this, it's kind of, you're kind of edging in a certain direction that says, this is weird. This situation that I find myself in is quite odd, being famous and having to deal with all the trappings that come with that. Do you find that stuff easy to actually be that person and, you know, be recognised and have to do the paparazzi thing?
Well, I don't have too much of a hard time with that, I don't think, really, comparatively.
You know, most bands don't get to that level, whereas you are, and I think you deal with it quite kind of well. You seem to be quite comfortable in your skin.
A lot more now, probably. It was like some times gone by.
What changed?
I mean, nothing overnight, but I think it's just, like we were saying before, 12 years into this now, something like that. So it's
yeah.
been gradually got used to it, or got to the point where the basis I had for comparison is half my lifetime ago.
What's your third track that you're going to give us the 5 best songs on Apple Music?
If you listen to that band Junior,
No, don't know them.
Oh,
the
yeah.
French band, I think they had a record last year or a couple of years ago. They got a new one out this year.
Where did you
It's
hear them?
fantastic. Tom Rowley heard it somewhere, and again in a van the other day said, there's a song called À la Plage. It's maybe the one.
When we take it back to the early days of the band, was there a kind of moment when the four of you kind of looked at each other and thought, wow, this has got legs, we're quite good?
When we do the movie, we'll make it as if there was one moment. But like in real life, I don't know. When you are doing it, it probably seems more gradual than what it looks like from the outside.
In Britain, it was huge. Maybe first album, second album. To me, it seemed as big as any band aside from Oasis had got. When did it start to become unreal for you guys?
We got like a number one single in with Bet You Look on the Dance Floor, and I would definitely categorise that as a moment that felt unreal at the time. We all went to the pub near where we'd grown up, and they announced that it was the number one record on the radio. They put the radio on in the pub, and everyone like
Really?
jumped up like
Did your family and
Holyfield
stuff?
had just won the fight.
Did you have family and stuff there as well?
Everybody.
Everybody were there.
Everybody
on the
knows
pool table.
But that, because that was
Amazing.
one where it was instant as well. Like
Yeah.
all the other things, it's like, obviously,
It builds on what came before.
yeah, or you like see it coming a little bit and can prepare a bit, but that was like a complete shock.
Track number 4, what have we got?
There's a Ennio Morricone song called Una spiaggia a mezzogiorno from
Yeah,
the soundtrack to
You might have to introduce that one.
Teorema. There's this Pasolini film starring Terence Stamp that I haven't seen all the way through. But the last one we did was À la Plage, wasn't it? So I think this will sort of stay on the beach for a minute with
You
this
know what
one.
it translates as? You know, you
I
don't have to
think
say it.
it's on the beach at midday.
Right.
Well, I always kind of wondered, would you do soundtracks? Because this record, pretty much every interview you've done, the thing that you've been most animated about is relating it to the films that you were watching at the time and how that inspired you. You must get offers.
I'd love to,
surely.
but Johnny Greenwood's got it all sewn up.
10 years ago, people didn't do soundtracks the same way they do now. Now, people have their soundtrack lane, if you will, and it coexists alongside whatever music they do, and people
Yeah.
are quite comfortable with that.
I like to think I might be able to have a crack at it. Depending on what it is, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, we had this submarine thing, but
That was songs.
exactly, yeah.
There were some great songs on that. Stuck on the Puzzle. That's one of your best songs.
Thanks, man.
That's
Deep cut.
an amazing
That
little
was
tune.
just a bit of a fluke, really, though. We was like Richard Ayward, who directed that and wrote it, had asked if I would do a bunch of like John Cale covers and stuff like that. And he wanted the soundtrack to be not dissimilar to the way in The Graduate it's all Paul Simon songs, and quite often in that film they play out in their entirety, which is relatively unusual, I think, for like a movie soundtrack. Around that time, I think it was just before Suck It and See, actually, there were a few tunes I had
didn't quite
fit
fit
the bill.
that,
It
right?
was a fluke.
Yeah.
Things happened where they had shot something that really worked with like one of the lyrics in there.
Did
and it just was like
the continuity between both
I
was
feel
amazing.
like it was a bit of a fluke on my part, anyway.
The more of these kind of side lanes that you go down and these projects that you do, and particularly I'm thinking of you with the Iggy thing, which was just that was amazing.
It's great. Yeah.
It must have been very, very special to be a part of that process, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I remember like part way through like Arctic Monkeys thinking it'd be cool to like play drums for somebody on something. Well, I definitely didn't expect it to be that, obviously, but it worked out well timing wise as well.
Yeah, it did. Everything just fell into place with it, didn't it? Are you going to do that one more gig where you're getting back together in Cal Jam?
Cal Jam, yeah.
Getting the band back together?
One more time.
God bless Iggy. The other good thing about you guys is that you're very freeing when you do want to go off and do this other stuff. It doesn't feel like anyone's kind of saying, oh, I don't think you should do that. It's kind of fair game for people to do whatever they want,
Richer
right?
for the experience.
Does it all feed back into what you do with Monkeys?
I can't put my finger on what it is, but I think it's just like another experience under your belt that's, more practice.
When you look at people like Iggy and your Nick Caves and people who do what you've been doing 20, 30, 40, 50 years in Iggy's case, is that something that you think, yeah, okay, this is something that I can see through until I want to stop? I shouldn't stop when I get to 40 or whatever.
I don't know if I could play drums like this in 40 years' time.
Bongos?
Yeah, bongos maybe. Who knows what it'll be then though. I'll just have like gloves on and I won't have to actually touch anything.
Well, yeah. Just look at stuff.
Yeah, I'll just be thinking it.
Like that drum jacket that Fleetwood Mac had.
Exactly. That'll be a bit more my speed by the time I'm that old.
What about you? Can you see yourself doing this when you're 80? Do you want to?
When I'm 80?
Do Oceaga when you're 70? Yeah,
that might be a stretch. Like.
I mean, it would be fun to watch.
Some nights now playing that I feel like I'm 80. I like the idea that I'd be making music, whether we'd be like playing them tunes, that might be.
Imagine being 70 and in a band called Arctic Monkeys. That's the hardest bit for me to come to terms
Yeah,
with.
but people have been saying that forever though. When you were 21, people were like, imagine being in a band called Arctic Monkeys.
Yeah.
The weird thing I think about you and a lot of bands in your position is that the Beatles in '68 would never, if they had been touring, they'd have never been playing She Loves You and I Want to Hold Your Hand. All of that would have gone at that point. Whereas there is that kind of stigma of like, you kind of have to do that stuff now to please
why is that?
people. And I don't know why that is.
I don't mind it. When it comes around, it seems to make people happy more often than not.
It fits, but to me it feels like two very different bands from the band you were at the start to the band you're on now.
Absolutely, yeah. Do
you still have the same passion for writing music now that you did when you were 19?
I'd say more so, Matthew.
Really?
Yeah. I think so.
Do you think it's because you like honed your talent more and you know what you're doing more?
I suppose looking at it a different way, there was this like urgency to everything about it then, because it was this moment was about to pass or something.
Yeah. What's your fifth and final song that you got for us?
Been listening to Joe Cocker's version of Just Like a Woman quite a lot lately.
Nice.
We did Leon at the front, or in there somewhere, didn't we? So
which is a similar vibe, isn't it?
Well, they had the Mad Dogs and Englishmen records together, if you've heard that one, which is one of my favourites. But this last couple of weeks, Joe Cocker's Just Like a Woman. I think it's probably my favourite version of that.
And his voice is kind of insane as well, isn't it? You can really belt it out.
You can really hear his accent come across.
Which I like about your stuff as well. Every single record, there is a kind of very, very you in Yorkshire reference.
Definitely, there's something in the way he says certain words when he's singing sometimes that it really like reveals that that's where it's from.
This is it. That was the 5 best songs on Apple Music according to Matt and Alex. Going to end it with Joe Cocker.
Nice one.